This is going to be my first time doing a full custom hardline liquid cooled loop. And if I look a little bit nervous, it's definitely because I am. I'm absolutely no stranger to custom cooling. I've done some softline builds before. You can actually see these in the top right corner of your screen. But when it comes to actually cutting and bending hardline, I've seen it being done, but I've never actually done it myself. As you can probably tell, we are going pretty big here today. I think this is actually the biggest case I've built in years. This is brand new from Corsair. It's the 7000D. But this video has actually been really helpfully sponsored by both Gigabyte and AMD. So we're going for X570, a Ryzen processor, and a Radeon 6800 non-XT. This is going to be perfect for high refresh rate 1440p. But if you're wondering the inevitable question, which is why we're not going for a 6900 XT, well, it's because there's a graphics card shortage and this was the only one AMD had to loan me. Well, at least that's their official story. Maybe they just don't trust me with water and £1,000 graphics cards. I've definitely never broken one of those before. Oh no! X570 is of course pretty much the most feature-rich gaming platform that you can get right now. Obviously there are others out there, but this is the only mainstream platform that does actually have PCIe Generation 4 support on all of the slots from the chipset as well, rather than just the CPU. It's really interesting, however, because Gigabyte are actually about to refresh their X570 series with some brand new boards that don't actually have a chipset fan at all. It's definitely something that I guess a lot of us would rather do without, and all of their new boards that they're bringing out actually won't have a chipset fan at all, which is pretty cool. As you would probably expect, we're not using a Ryzen 5 5600X for this, we're actually using a Ryzen 9 5900X, which means we're getting 12 cores, which is going to be brilliant for someone like myself that wants to do some 6K multicam video editing, but then also play games without losing out on single core performance. Obviously we will not be needing a CPU cooler, but we will need to remove the stock mounting hardware because we are of course going to be fitting a CPU block. This is from Corsair, it's the Hydra X range, this is the XC7. Said with such certainty, but in my defense I've used this before and have thrown the box away. How much thermal paste do we need to use? I think this is going to be about right actually, nice little X. Then the easiest CPU cooler install you will ever do, you just put these on and then screw it in. We have a cloth and the brand new Royale RAM from G-Skill. So this is the Trident Z. But if you have a look at it, it's very shiny. It's actually got like a crystalline effect on the top and then this cool almost diamond cut mesh on the side. It looks really neat. This is 32 gigabytes of 3600 megahertz RAM, which is pretty much what you'd want to go for, I guess, if you're after the best looking and best performing PC. The only real downside is that if you do want to upgrade to 64 gigabytes, you'd have to get a whole new set and replace the lot. As far as storage is concerned, this is actually something that is completely new to me as well, and I would wager new to you. This is actually a water-cooled SSD, which makes sense for our custom loop. It is made by Corsair, it is the MP600 Pro, 2 terabytes of Gen 4 storage, hooked up to a custom liquid-cooled loop via hardline. Pretty hardcore. Okay, that is definitely quite big actually. It does say Corsair on it, if I have it up the right way. I mean, it's not obscene, but when you think the SSD is just this tiny slither at the bottom, most of that is actually a water-cooled block. All of these companies are trusting me not to break anything, and I don't trust myself. Come on, PC-centric, be confident, you can do it. The people are counting on you. Or maybe they just want this to end up in Reddit fails. I know you're thinking it. No, no. So here is our finished board then, and I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that the theming is working pretty well. The RAM sort of goes with the accents that we've got. We've got silver and black. But obviously once we sort of spice this up with some RGB, we'll probably go for like a AMD red sort of vibe. I'm thinking it's going to look pretty good. This is the 7000D from Corsair, and it is probably bigger and heavier than I am. Not that that's actually particularly difficult, but obviously it is very similar to the 4000 and 5000D from Corsair, but it is just a lot bigger, it's a lot more scaled up. This case is actually so big you could fit 3 140 fans at the front and at the top. So if you want to do, what is that, a 420 radiator at the top and the bottom, I think you can do that. Why they didn't put this on the other Corsair cases, I don't know. A door. As you'd expect, it is very similar to the 5000D, just scaled up a little bit. So by that I mean you can actually have fans or radiators or disc plates or things here or at the front, and then you've got ample cooling at the top as well. For a case that is actually this expensive though, you would probably expect that they'd give you better fans as standard than these. It's not that they'd be terrible or anything, but you're spending an awful lot of money. In terms of the fans that we're upgrading to, we're going for some SP RGB Elites. They don't make much noise, they still look pretty good despite not having all of the RGB effects in the world. And if you are going to be kitting a case like this out with fans, this is definitely going to save you quite a black and white builds that just sparkle. Or maybe it's the RAM. No, it's the black and red, that looks good. The daunting bit begins now, actually getting the loop to work. And some of these I think are going to be quite simple, because if you look at the graphics card straight into the SSD, that's a fairly easy run. Going from the SSD into the block, not quite so easy, because we sort of have to do a U round, but I think we can get that working okay. I do think the runs to the radiators should be okay. From the block into the radiator, again, okay. It's more a case of where we're actually going to put this pump, because we can mount it to the radiator quite easily. So we can either have it anywhere along here, but my original plan was to actually drop it in at the bottom, because I think that will probably look the neatest. The issue, however, is that the fill port is located on the top, so we can't use this to actually be part of our loop. We need to keep this free. So the issue by putting it down here is that essentially you're going to have both of these coming up and out, which might get a little bit more complicated than it needs to. So I have indeed fitted the pump down here. It's very easy to mount it. You can put it on a radiator or just fit it into a fan mount with some bolts. Very, very simple. This isn't going anywhere. What we've got here is a simple 90-degree fitting on a ball valve. This is currently turned off, and of course it will remain turned off until we're trying to drain it. And then we can just hook up a bit of soft line, run it over the edge of the desk into a bucket or something, open it up, and then just lift the case, and then gravity should do pretty much all of the work for us. In terms of the fixtures and fittings that we're using, I actually ran out of chrome fittings, which in the end has turned into a good thing, because I want this to be like a black, silver and red theme, as we've talked about before. And I really like the look of these chrome fittings for the hardline, mixed with the 90-degree adapters, but in black. So we've got a mixture of black and chrome going on here. Now comes the time to actually start cutting and bending some tubes. The kit that we're using to achieve this is actually also sold by Corsair. They've sent this one out as well. It is the XT Hardline Bending Kit, but you should note that while this has everything you need to cut tubes, it doesn't have everything you need to bend it, because you also need a heat gun. Fortunately, Amazon exists, and I've ordered a Bosch Easy Heat 500. Inside the box, you get this little clamping tool, so you can actually keep everything steady. You've got this little silicone inside tube thing, and you use this so that you can actually bend the tube without warping the middle. You've got this little chamfer tool, so you can clean up all of your cuts. You've got a bend guide, so you can get nice, clean 90-degree bends. And then finally, you also have the hacksaw. Definitely not the most premium one I've ever used. This is actually all plastic other than the metal blade, but it should be more than good enough to actually get our hardline rig up and running. The silicone bit goes in the end then, being careful not to push it in all the way through. You then grab your heat gun, you'd lay it out on a flat surface. We're going to start with this bottom tube because it's probably the one that matters the least, because it doesn't matter where the bend actually appears, and it will give me a little bit of practice. So I roughly want there to be a 90-degree, probably about here-ish. Then we will begin the heating. I want to try and keep this in one straight line, but make sure we are heating up the tube nice and evenly. So what I've done there is essentially cock it up. But we can do that freehand. And there we have a bend. Didn't go to plan, but it's my first go. Then you'll just put this on it. Then you open up one of these fittings. Do not lose the O-ring. Then you'd grab your hard line. You'd push it in gently until it's snug. You'd lower this one down, and then you secure the fitting in place. And there you would have a bit of hardline. Doesn't look like much at the moment, but give me some time and I might have learned the ropes. On the whole, I'd say that the process did go quite well, but I wasn't really entirely sure what to expect, and it was definitely a bigger workload than I was originally anticipating. What you're seeing now is a time lapse from around about 2 days, probably actually about 2.5. Not because cutting and bending every tube took a long time, but because the learning curve was just so steep with this thing. I actually ended up redoing all of the tubes pretty much at least twice, because in order to actually get that really clean, perfect looking finish that you've probably
seen in all of these other videos, you have to get every single part of the process right. And it's very easy to do 2 or 3 bends and then think to yourself, you know what, I'm going to go for gold, I'm going to do another one. And then unfortunately you end up melting the tube a little bit and then you have to throw the whole thing away. Or what happened with me a couple of times is that you either miscut it and then your hard work that you've spent an hour and a half on all has to be thrown away and you have to start again. Or you do a bend slightly wrong and then you have to fix it and then the whole thing just doesn't look quite as good as you wanted in the first place. This is exactly what happened with the bottom one. I was really proud of it at first because it had quite a lot of bends in and it seemed to fit in quite snugly, but then turning the PC round once everything was done, I then realised that actually it wasn't very straight at all, and if I just spent a little bit more time inspecting the computer from more angles, I would have saved myself the job of either accepting something that is a little bit subpar, or again, the time just to redo everything.
You rejoin the action, I think, 3 days after we originally started this project. This has been simultaneously one of the most fun things I think I've done in this studio, if not the best. I've honestly really enjoyed all of my time making this, but it's easily been the hardest thing I think I've ever done really for PC Centric. I'm not sure whether you can see this, but all of these bits of tube here are cuts that did not, well, make the cuts. I don't think I can recommend one of these more. This is the Barrow pressure tester. It cost me around about £35. I had to express ship it here to get it in time. And essentially the idea with this, particularly with hardline, is that you just plumb this into your loop, give it a bit of pressure, leave it for around about half an hour or so, and if the pressure in the loop actually remains the same, then in theory you shouldn't get any leaks, but if it starts to go down like it did many times, then you know that something in your loop isn't actually secure enough, and you would have had water coming out, but instead you just have air. We'll get some kitchen roll and actually place this underneath the computer, so if there are any leaks we can work out where they are. And the thing that puts me off so much about doing hardline for my personal PC in around about a month's time is just the risks of leaks, I think, are so much higher than if you're using softline. That's not to say that it is going to leak, but I think with soft you have a little bit more certainty because you're not having to worry about having those really tight bends, whereas with this it's pretty much anybody's guess. Let's fill this up with some distilled water and turn it on. No immediate signs of any spillages, which is a promising start. Power cycle it a few times, being really careful to make sure we don't actually run this dry. Here we have our custom hardline liquid cooled loop actually moving. I definitely have overfilled it a little bit, but it's not really an issue because I was actually going to cleanse both the radiators and the piping anyway, because it is going to have a load of horrible bits of PVC in it. There's no way I could get rid of all of that. The downside for going for strong dyes in your system is that they will remain in your parts pretty much forever. This is from a previous purple build I did, and even though I flushed these out multiple times, you can see this up the best it can be. As I said, I've spent 3. I know you do. When it does eat it up. Same again. When it does eat it up, doesn't it? You probably have to be on, off, on, off, on, and off. Is this going to be the one where we finally hit equilibrium? Yes! How about that? Do you want to see it with the paper towels removed and a lot more of the RGB on? I know you do. Here we go. Haven't properly leak tested this for an extended period of time, so I'm certainly hoping that it's not going to leak while I'm talking to you. But you can see it really does come alive. I'm sure that Corsair's RGB styling isn't going to appeal to everybody, but particularly off of the RAM actually, and you have all of those silver accents. As soon as you get a load of lighting in here, it does start to come alive because it reflects off each other, and it really does make it more intriguing, I guess, the more that you look at it. I think I'm going to do a separate video all about performance and setting this up the best it can be. As I said, I've spent 3 whole days on this thing, if not a little bit more at the moment, because it's, well, technically it's Wednesday today, so the video's going up today. It's actually midnight. And yes, it is a little bit rough around the edges, even though I redid this bottom tube. Looking at it from all of the normal angles, I don't think it's actually quite as attractive as I thought it was, but this was my first time doing this. There is a lot of room for improvement, But that is part of the fun, I guess. I am looking forward to the next time I actually am able to do one of these. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. I'm sure you have some. Hit subscribe for more videos just like this, including part 2. Smash the like button. But until then, I'll see you
Thanks for watching, guys. Over to the right, YouTube has a recommended video that they know you will enjoy, so go ahead and click that. I've also picked out one that I think you'll enjoy, so click that if you fancy.
I like to smell my beard after a really good meal. Dude, you don't need to get that personal.
This is our biggest project of all time. This is also the most expensive PC we've ever built. Today, MSI and Nvidia are sponsoring a Battlefield-themed tank PC. That's right, I am building a fully water-cooled dual RTX 3090 12th gen PC inside of a tank. We're also partnering with EA Australia to give away 2 Battlefield 2042 game codes to 2 lucky winners. All you have to do is leave a comment on this video, watch the whole video, and we'll be choosing 2 people at random. Oh, and while you're at it, make sure you subscribe. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Clock boost of 1785 megahertz. We are water blocking both cards with the EK Quantum Vector GPU block and backplate for the ultimate performance in liquid cooling.
Dude, this is a horrible gaming experience. How do you live like this?
Well, I don't know, Linus. I don't have time to...
Guys, now that the PC is complete, let's give Battlefield 2042 a test on this MSI Optics MEG 381C QR gaming monitor. MSI GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards deliver the ultimate performance for gamers and creators. They're powered by Ampere, Nvidia's second-gen RTX architecture with new RT cores, tensor cores, and streaming multiprocessors for the most realistic ray traced graphics and cutting-edge AI features. Nvidia DLSS is groundbreaking AI rendering technology that increases graphics performance using dedicated tensor core AI processors on MSI GeForce RTX graphics cards. DLSS taps into the power of deep learning neural network to boost frame rates and generate beautiful, sharp images for your games. RTX ray tracing is the holy grail of graphics. It simulates how light behaves in the real world to produce the most realistic and immersive graphics for gamers and creators. MSI GeForce RTX 30 series has second generation RT cores for maximum ray tracing performance. Nvidia Reflex also delivers the ultimate competitive advantage. Gives the lowest latency, the best responsiveness, and powered
gritty.
Get me up from here! Dangerous! Stay away! Friendly is hit! Stay away! I'm here, стреляю! I picked out! me! Don't help me! Have to reload! I need help, fighter! I need to reload! Reloading! Cover me! Меня ранили! Помогите! Меня ранили! Выручайте! Мама бьет! Релодинг! Кто-нибудь, помогите! Что происходит? I'm reloading! Держитесь от меня подальше! Tango down!
We need to regain control or we are finished.
Shit! Friendly's hurt! Look to reload! Here! They got one of us! Target's down! Let me retreat! I'm all set.
ready.
Just lost our advantage. We have to regain control of the battle.
Tango is down! Target is down! Cover me! I'm reloading! I'm reloading! One down! Has to reload! Need a moment! Cover me!